Emily sat at the table smiling as she watched David working on a pile of old electronic parts. After a few minutes, David picked up a small wire and said, "If this works, we'll finally discover the truth." Emily looked confused. "What truth?" she asked. Instead of answering, David pointed toward the upstairs hallway. A strange sound echoed through the old house. Curious and nervous, Emily stood up and slowly walked toward the staircase. The house was silent, but as she got closer, she heard what sounded like footsteps above her. She turned back and looked at David. His expression had suddenly become serious. Then, without warning, the door to an upstairs room slowly creaked open by. In the freezing mountains, a young girl and her father continued their dangerous journey through the snow. One morning, they spotted movement in the distance. The girl carefully aimed her rifle while her father watched through binoculars. They hoped to find food, but what they saw shocked them. Far away, near an abandoned ski resort, a lonely woman was wandering through the snow. The place had been deserted for years and nobody was supposed to be there. Curious and worried, they rode their horses toward the old resort. As they got closer, the girl felt something was wrong. The silence of the mountains seemed heavier than ever. When they arrived, the mysterious woman had disappeared. The girl looked around nervously, searching for footprints. Her father stayed calm, but he knew they were not alone. As the cold wind howled through the mountains, they realized someone had been watching them the entire time. The father slowly reached for his rifle. Then, from deep inside the abandoned resort, a strange sound echoed through the snow-covered valley. A young girl named Emma was riding her horse through the snowy mountains when she noticed something strange in the distance. The valley was unusually quiet, and everyone seemed worried. Soon, a group of survivors loaded their belongings onto a wagon and began a dangerous journey across the frozen land. They were leaving their village behind after hearing rumors of a coming disaster. As they crossed the vast snow-covered valley, a mysterious hunter watched them from afar. Nobody knew whether he was a friend or an enemy. The group continued moving, hoping to reach safety before nightfall. After a long journey, they arrived at a heavily guarded settlement, surrounded by tall wooden walls. The gates opened slowly, and the exhausted travelers were allowed inside. Meanwhile, in the town office, Officer Maya was looking out of her window, concerned about the increasing number of refugees arriving every day. She knew something serious was happening beyond the mountains. Maya met with the town leader and explained what she had learned. According to reports, a hidden threat was spreading across nearby regions, forcing families to abandon their homes. The leader listened carefully as Maya shared her plan. Together, they decided to help the newcomers and uncover the truth behind the mysterious events in the frozen valley. But as the snowstorm grew stronger, everyone realized that their biggest... As soon as Daniel entered the house, he noticed something strange. Near the door were two pairs of children's shoes. His heart started beating faster. "Whose shoes are these?" he asked quietly. He walked into the living room and stood silently near the fireplace, thinking about the past. Just then, Sarah came into the room holding a cup of coffee. "Daniel, we need to talk," she said. Both of them sat down. The room was silent for a few moments. Sarah took a deep breath and finally spoke. "3 years ago, after you left, I found out I was pregnant." Daniel looked up in shock. "What?" Sarah nodded slowly. "I tried to find you, but nobody knew where you were. I had no way to contact you." Daniel couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Are you saying I have a child?" Tears filled Sarah's eyes. "Yes." At that moment, a small boy walked into the room. Daniel immediately recognized him. The same curly hair, the same eyes. The boy looked at him and smiled. "Mom, who is he?" Sarah looked at Daniel. "He's your father." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. Years of pain, regret, and unanswered questions suddenly made sense. But before anyone could say another word, there was a loud knock at the door. Sarah's face turned pale. Daniel looked confused. In a small snow-covered town surrounded by mountains, a brave young girl named Emma loved horses more than anything. One cold morning, she prepared for an important journey. Carrying her backpack and an old rifle for protection, she saddled her horse and set off through the snowy streets. As Emma rode through town, a mysterious boy noticed her from a distance. Curious about her mission, he followed her to the horse training grounds. There, Emma met a kind stable worker who gave her supplies and wished her good luck. Soon, Emma joined a group of experienced riders heading toward the edge of town. The journey was dangerous because heavy snowstorms often trapped travelers in the mountains. Together, they rode through the silent streets and reached a large wooden gate that marked the entrance to the wilderness. Beyond the gate lay frozen valleys, hidden trails, and unknown dangers. But Emma was not afraid. She knew that somewhere in the mountains was a lost horse that needed help. With courage in her heart and her friends beside her, she rode forward into the snowy wilderness. As the sun began to set behind the mountains, the adventure. In a small snow-covered town surrounded by mountains, a brave young girl named Emma loved horses more than anything. One cold morning, she prepared for an important journey. Carrying her backpack and an old rifle for protection, she saddled her horse and set off through the snowy streets. As Emma rode through town, a mysterious boy noticed her from a distance. Curious about her mission, he followed her to the horse training grounds. There, Emma met a kind stable worker who gave her supplies and wished her good luck. Soon, Emma joined a group of experienced riders heading toward the edge of town. The journey was dangerous because heavy snowstorms often trapped travelers in the mountains. Together, they rode through the silent streets and reached a large wooden gate that marked the entrance to the wilderness. Beyond the gate lay frozen valleys, hidden trails, and unknown dangers. But Emma was not afraid. She knew that somewhere in the mountains was a lost horse that needed help. With courage in her heart and her friends beside her, she rode forward into the snowy wilderness. As the sun began to set behind the mountains, the adventure was only. As the group rode through the snow-covered mountains, they noticed a trail of fresh blood leading into an abandoned town. No one spoke. The silence was terrifying. When they entered the town, they found a horrifying sight. A giant bear and several people were lying dead in the snow. It looked like a brutal battle had taken place only hours earlier. But there was no sign of who survived. The survivors carefully searched the empty streets and reached an old market. The doors were open, the delivery truck was abandoned, and shopping carts were scattered everywhere. Someone had left in a hurry. One of the girls noticed strange footprints disappearing behind the market. They followed them with extreme caution, expecting danger at every step. Suddenly, they heard a strange sound echoing through the frozen streets. The group stopped, looked at each other, and realized they were not alone. Who or what was hiding? Two teenage survivors arrive at an abandoned building covered in snow after spotting signs that someone may still be alive inside. Before entering, one silently signals 1 and then 2, counting down their plan so they can move carefully without making noise. Climbing through a broken window, they discover blood on the walls and a lifeless body lying on the floor. The shocking scene tells them they are not alone, and that something terrible happened here. As they continue down the dark hallway, every step becomes more dangerous. Strange sounds echo through the building, and the tension grows with every second. Suddenly, one of the girls freezes in fear after noticing something moving in the darkness. What they thought was an empty building has become a deadly trap, and escaping alive may be impossible. On a freezing night, Emily and her younger brother Noah enter an abandoned supermarket after hearing rumors that people who enter never return. Inside, they find an old Employee of the Month, 2003 board. Several employee photos have mysteriously disappeared, as if someone erased them from history. Emily realizes this place has been hiding a dark secret for years. As they explore deeper, the floor suddenly collapses. Noah is knocked unconscious under broken shelves, leaving Emily alone with only a flashlight. The market is silent, until she hears something crawling in the darkness. Emily carefully searches the empty aisles, trying to find a way out. Then in the distance, she spots a terrifying shadow crawling on all fours. The creature slowly turns its head toward her. Her heartbeat races. She grabs Noah and tries to escape, but the creature lets out a horrifying scream and begins chasing them through the abandoned supermarket. They run through the dark aisles, knocking over shelves behind them. Just as the monster is about to catch them, Emily notices a rusty emergency exit door glowing under a beam of light. She pushes Noah through the door, but before she can escape herself, a cold hand grabs her shoulder.